Y'all know we coming with back-to-back bangers. For those who don't know, I just released the story behind the classic for the game's debut album, the documentary, and while making that video, I thought why not make another video for the series. This video on the Carter 3 is definitely one of, if not the most requested videos, along with people really wanting me to do the Carter 2. I really remember this Carter 3 era of when Wayne was on top and was truly unstoppable. Undoubtedly the best rapper in the game during this period, and I'm here to break down this classic album which we know today as the Carter 3. Before I get more into the video, I would first like to thank you guys for coming to see this, because you guys can be doing a million other things right now, but instead you're here with me and I appreciate that. If you guys like the content, you guys should like, comment, and subscribe. Also follow my Instagram too, that would be greatly appreciated. You guys can always reach out and just show me some love, it's all good. Also let me know where you are tuning in from, especially if you're from Louisiana. Give me your top 5 favorite tracks from the album. Mine are Lollipop, A Milli, Got Money, Let the Beat Build, and Miss Officer. Honorable mentions to 3P and Playing with Fire before it was taken off of the album. Without further ado, I give you the Carter 3, the story behind the classic. To start off the video, we have to go all the way back to the beginning of 2007. If you're new to this series of the story behind the classic, I start off 1 year before the album dropped officially and go from there, so this is just a heads up. The Carter 3 released in June of 2008, but I always like to start at the beginning of the year before an album was released. So by this time period of 2007, Lil Wayne was already the self-proclaimed best rapper alive. On the Carter 2, he said and had a song titled Best Rapper Alive, where he declared that he was the best rapper alive. The Carter 2 did really well, like number-wise, with it peaking at number 2 on the Billboard 200, selling 240,000 copies in his first week. But when asked about the Carter 2, Wayne would say that the Carter 2 didn't do what he wanted it to do necessarily, and was a disappointment because he put his all into it, but he didn't dwell on it. Mind you, these are Lil Wayne's words. Now skipping ahead a bit, and we get to the beginning of 2007. Wayne was an absolute workhorse. During this time period, Lil Wayne was putting out so much music, whether he was appearing on features, dropping his own tapes, his stuff getting leaked, etc. Wayne was actually getting criticized by some people for his music output at the time, with 50 Cent basically calling him an industry thought, but Wayne didn't care what he thought because he was getting paid from all the music he was doing with people. In May of 2007, we would see the Drought 3 release, and I've seen this be highly regarded as one of Wayne's best mixtapes. This was a double disc mixtape that had 29 songs on it. It was actually delayed before it came out, but man, this mixtape has so many crazy joints. Black Republicans, Upgrade, Live from 504, I Can't Feel My Face. By the way, if you want to know more about the I Can't Feel My Face time period of Lil Wayne, I have a whole video dedicated to that, which I'll put like a link into the description to for you guys to enjoy. But things would definitely take a huge turn when the next month in July, a well-known mixtape DJ named The Empire put out the Drought Is Over 2, the Carter 3 Sessions, which was a full year before the Carter 3 came out. This was a big deal because many of these songs that ended up leaking, not just on this mixtape, were recorded with the intentions of being on the Carter 3. On some of these tracks, you can hear Wayne shout out C3 or mention the Carter 3. Now, Wayne was not messing with the Empire and had to clear up his own comments that he made, because Wayne wasn't pissed at like DJs in general, but at Empire in particular. Wayne said that he did mess with him and that he put out a CD of him every month and didn't know what he even looked like. The Empire denied this and said that he spoke to Lil Wayne after The Drought Is Over Part 2 came out, and they were supposed to work out a situation where they could work together. The Empire said that Wayne hosted his first Empire tape, so for him to say that he didn't even know him was wrong. He also clarified that at that point, he dropped 5 CDs in 2 years and not every month. Empire would also say that he feels like he did more good than bad, and that he actually got music from people inside of Lil Wayne's camp, from somebody that sits right next to him on his tour bus. It truly be your own people sometimes, man. You definitely gotta watch out for your circle, man, for real, for real. Those who were outside around this time know how crazy these Lil Wayne leaks were, and some of the most popular tracks from this tape are Kush, Something You Forgot, I Feel Like Dying, Scarface, and La 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 La, to name a few. But something would happen in the next month in July that would ultimately affect the release of the Carter 4. While Lil Wayne was in New York, police found a gun on his tour bus, and he later spent time in jail for this. And something else I want to mention is that I was reading this XXL magazine article from 2007, and it looks like a knock on Lil Wayne was that before the Carter 3, Lil Wayne didn't have a big multi-platinum album yet. At this time, the Carter 2 was only platinum, and the Carter just went platinum in 2020. Little did people know that Lil Wayne was absolutely about to explode. The next big thing that happened in terms of the Carter 3 storyline happened in December of 2007 when Lil Wayne released the leak. About the project, Lil Wayne would say, "The December 18th release is going to be called the Carter 3, but it's going to be called The Leak as well, because I get leaked so much. My music got leaked this whole year. One thing I noticed, when another person's album get leaked, it's a whole thing. They're distraught. When my song gets leaked, people call and say, it's the greatest song. Can I have this for the album? Or can I put it on the soundtrack? Can we get the ringtone? It's never, damn dude, your music leaked. So what we feel, we're going to give you what you want. We're going to give you the leak. Every song that was leaked is coming out on December 18th, and we have 4 new songs. The song Gossip is going to be the first single for that album. I'm going to shoot the video for that in about a week. Lil Wayne said records like Prostitute and I Feel Like Dying would definitely be included on the leak. He also said that the record you hear will be the quote-unquote bionic versions of the bootleg songs, and added that he was going to change a couple of verses and lines on some songs. Ultimately, when the leak released, it was only 5 songs. The Carter 3 had been anticipated since 2006, and this anticipation was both with fans and artists, with people like Kanye West and Andre 3000, to name a few, wanting to work with Wayne. Kanye, though, called Wayne personally as far back as 2006 and told him that he had to work on the Carter 3. Wayne said that Kanye made multiple trips to the studio and gave him beats, and on the first visit, he had 5 beats, and on the second visit, he gave him a CD with 15 beats on it. Wayne ultimately had to tell Kanye to leave him alone. But around the time of the leak dropping, the tentative target release date of the Carter 3 dropping was supposed to be on February 12th of 2008, but that never happened. But we can skip all the way to March of 2008 when Lil Wayne released Lollipop featuring Static Major. This song would peak at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 5 freaking straight weeks. Literally insane. Sadly, Static Major never saw the success that song had because he would pass away weeks before the song was officially released. So big rest in peace to Static Major, because that song wouldn't have been the same without him. So yeah. But I remember when I was a kid watching the video for Lollipop, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Lollipop as of today is now 8 times platinum. Literally the next month, Lil Wayne released A Milli, which was the second single for the Carter 3. A Milli, from what I've seen, was reported to be the initial first single, but it became the second, as we would see. The original version of A Milli was leaked before its official release, and while doing this video, I heard the original version, and I couldn't remember if I heard it back in 2008 or not, because when I recently heard it, I thought in my mind that I had never heard it before. In the comments underneath the original version, I saw people say that they prefer the original version, and it's different than the released version because of the difference in the delivery, and some of the lines are also different. There's also another version with Corey Gunz, and people also really like this version because Corey Gunz went absolutely bananas. Now, Peter Gunz, who is the father of Corey Gunz, in a DJ Vlad interview, said that he was responsible for leaking the version of A Milli with his son on it because he felt like his son wasn't going to end up on the official version. Well, as we know today, Corey didn't end up on the album, but despite this, his dad said that Corey got a hell of a look out of it due to the track leaking. We do know that Corey would end up getting his shine on the Carter 4 with 6 foot, 7 foot, but that's an entirely different, entirely different thing. But another thing about A Milli is that Corey Gunz, Lil Mama, Tyga, and Hurricane Chris were all originally supposed to have their versions of A Milli on the Carter 3 as separate interludes, but this ultimately never happened as well. However, this did happen on the Carter 4 with another beat on the intro, interlude, and outro of that album with other people like Tech 9, Andre 3000, Bun B, Shine, Nas, and Busta Rhymes. You can find Corey Gunn's, Lil Mama, and Tyga's takes on A Milli online, but when I was doing research, I found Hurricane Chris talking about A Milli, and he said originally the song was called I'm Illin, because that's what Wayne thought that the sample was saying, and this is why Wayne on the hook is saying MFer I'm ill. Comment down below your favorite A Milli freestyle from back in the day, because there was a lot, and there was a lot of good ones from what I remember. But this record didn't go #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts, but it damn sure went #1 in the streets because it was everywhere. That beat was and still is insane and knocks. A Milli would peak at #6 on the Billboard Hot 100, and as of today is 5 times platinum. But back in February of 2008, Lil Wayne said that in April the Carter 3 was supposed to be released, but that never happened. He blamed this on the amount of music that he makes, because he makes so many songs pretty much every day. The next month in May is when the third single for the album, Got Money, featuring T-Pain and magnum, was released and peaked at #10 on the Billboard Hot 100. That song, as of today, is 3 times platinum. But also in May of 2008, Wayne ran into a very huge problem. Due to his comments about mixtape DJs that I discussed like a little bit earlier, various DJs started leaking the Carter 3 in protest. An anonymous DJ who leaked the album would say, "Lately Lil Wayne, dubbed the greatest rapper alive, has taken a shot at all mixtape DJs. I myself am a DJ and found his inappropriateness to be unprofessional, considering how this album is highly anticipated. So I have received this version from a contact whose name I won't disclose for his safety and reputation. But since I can give a F about the rapper eater, here's a gift for his fans as a big FU to Sir Lil Weezy." So yes, the album leaked right before it's released. I'm telling you, man, like the lead up to the Carter 3 was, it was a rough road for Lil Wayne. But before we get into like the album, there's like a few more things that I want to talk about. In the lead up to the album, Lil Wayne talked about people like Wyclef Jean, Justin Timberlake, Timbaland, and Eminem being on the album. All those people didn't end up on the album either as a feature or in the production credits. I also saw that David Banner, who did production on the album, said that he would be credited for 5 tracks on the final cut of the Carter 2, but he ultimately ended up with technically 2 if you want to count, the other song, which we're about to get into later. But speaking of David Banner though, we must speak about the track Playing with Fire. So this was the original 14th track on the Carter 3, and it was produced by Street Runner. Due to a lawsuit, the track Playing with Fire was removed from the Carter 3 and was replaced by the song Monster, which was produced by David Banner. As to why Playing with Fire was removed will be something that I get into in the second part of the video. Some additional information is that the song Eat You Alive was supposed to be on the album, but was later set to appear on the Carter 3, The Rebirth, The Birth of a New Beginning, which was set to be like a whole other project from the original Carter 3. This is something that I think that I will cover on my rap albums that were never released series. Finally, after all of the drama and hype around the Carter 3, it would release in June of 2008 with first freaking day sales of approximately 423,000 copies. The Carter 3 would top the Billboard 200 chart, selling over 1 million in its very freaking first week. Insane. This was actually Wayne's first #1 album. This album ended up being nominated for Album of the Year at the 2009 Grammy Awards and won for Best Rap Album, while Lollipop won Best Rap Song and A Milli won Best Rap Solo Performance. I remember when this album came out and it was everywhere, man. Such a great era, even as a little kid. But now in the second part of the video, I'll break down the album track by track and give you some more history. The first track on the Carter 3 is 3P, and the significance of the title is that the Carter 3 is the 3rd installment of the legendary Carter series, and a 3P by definition is a 3rd consecutive championship, so this is Lil Wayne's 3rd consecutive album, But originally the beat for this track was made for Young Jeezy, but he didn't like it. Then the beat was played for Lil Wayne, and he hopped on it that night. This leads us to the second song on the album, which is Mr. Carter featuring Jay-Z. Now before I get into the story behind this track, Lil Wayne and Jay-Z actually have some interesting history with each other that I've been wanting to make a video on for quite a while. If you would like to see this video on Lil Wayne and Jay-Z, definitely hit me up on Instagram or in the comments. But this song was produced by Drew Correa, I think that's how you might say it, I don't really know, and Infamous. But about the song, Drew would say, Infamous knew Wayne through passing beats to him. We actually met through Wayne. My friend Sharon Prescott helped me write the hook and sang the chorus. I sped him up and purposely made it sound like a sample. We told Wayne it was a sample that we found. I think Wayne still thinks that it's a sample. Me and Infamous went to the studio, and as soon as Wayne heard it, he absolutely lost his mind. That's the reason that he shouted out at the beginning, because we were right there with him. Jay Lilly got on the song in mid-May. Mr. Carter was the last song on the Carter 3 to get mixed and mastered. This quote literally blew my mind because I always thought that that was a sample in the song, so that's just crazy. The significance of the title for the song is that Lil Wayne's real name is Dwayne Carter and Jay-Z's real name is Sean Carter, so they both can be referred to as Mr. Carter. This track is really important because it's essentially Jay-Z passing the torch to Lil Wayne. In the beginning of Jay's verse, he says that he's in his chair with his crown and referred to Lil Wayne as his heir. This was Wayne's reaction to the line. That line right there was hard, unbelievable. I didn't even realize it at first. My homie had to tell me, you know what he said, right? I didn't even get it. I was like, why is he saying heir? Is he talking about the heir? But I'm smart enough to know that he's smart enough to not be talking about heir. I felt real dumb, but then I felt so good. It was an incredible compliment. In the outro of the song, Wayne is quoting lyrics from a Jay-Z song entitled Lucky Me. This song would appear on Jay-Z's album In My Lifetime Volume 1, and Wayne has said that Lucky Me is his favorite song of all. The song title is actually tatted on his neck, and he has a verse of the song tatted on his leg. Mr. Carter ended up being the 4th single on the album, peaking at number 62 on the Billboard Hot 100. The 3rd track on the album is A Milli, and the producer for the track is Bangladesh. A girl that he was producing for at the time ended up giving the beat to Wayne, and Bangladesh has said that he was never in the studio with Wayne during the making of A Milli. Bangladesh would say, if I had my way, I would like it more, but I wasn't around, so what he felt, he put on there. I just thought he would make more of a song out of it, honestly. He's just rapping. If it was going on the mixtape, it's cool, but not on no album or single. It's saying A Milli. He needs to pop about being a millionaire. He switched it up and tried to make it ill. If that was somebody else, it wouldn't be on the radio. They just F with Wayne regardless. That right there makes me like that stuff because it's against the grain and it's working. That stuff's no format. A dude went in, freestyled, and that stuff's all over the radio. And it's the hottest beat in hip hop right now. Every time I turn on Rapcity, they in the booth rapping to the beat. Busta Rhymes hit me not that long ago and said that he did 5 verses to that beat and they quote unquote rebirthed him. He was talking to me like I did this amazing reincarnation for him, like I sound like a newborn baby. It's interesting to hear that Bangladesh didn't really like the track initially, especially since it didn't have a hook. Bangladesh has also commented on the Corey Gunz situation regarding A Milli and says that he thinks that Corey Gunz was doing too much on the record and said that a lot of artists don't want you to outshine them on their own record. Whether Wayne cut him for that reason is up for debate. The 4th track on the album is Got Money and was produced by T-Pain and Playing Skills. Right before this track was supposed to go into the computer, an engineer stepped on a plug and accidentally turned off the MPC. As a result of this, they had to come back the very next day and redo the whole track. Initially, Pitbull was going to use it, but T-Pain didn't finish the hook in time. Nori and Slim Thug also recorded over the beat. Fat Joe also was interested, and Rick Ross passed over it. Playing Skills were shopping the beat around, and eventually T-Pain's manager reached out to them saying that Wayne wanted it. Playing Skills weren't a part of the mixing and or mastering of the album, in which they say that Wayne doesn't let you come unless you have a personal relationship with him, in which they did not. Because of this, Skills didn't really care about the money and said that due to this, Wayne could not have the song, but Play talked them out of it and they ended up being satisfied with what Wayne's engineer did to the song. Also, complete side note, there was a lot of suing as a result of this album, especially with the producers, which I'm not going to get into because, like, trust me, it's a lot. It is a lot, man. It's a lot. I didn't even realize how bad it was until I started doing research, and almost every song like I encountered, I see people were suing. So the only exception will be for Playing with Fire, but that's something that, you know, is kind of different. But the 5th track on the album is Comfortable, featuring the legendary singer, songwriter, and producer Babyface. This track was produced by Kanye West. Babyface was already on the song when Wayne heard it and he loved it, especially since he's a huge Babyface fan. This song was done in mid-2006, and Wayne really wanted to do the record because he thought not that many hip-hop artists were doing stuff with Babyface, and Wayne thinks that Babyface is a legend, in which he is. But the next track on this album is Dr. Carter, and to give you some context, in December of 2006, Nas would release the album Hip Hop Is Dead. The album's title was inspired by Nas's view on hip-hop and America at the time. On the self-titled song off of the album Hip Hop Is Dead, Nas said that everybody sounded the same and the rap game was now commercialized. Mind you, like I said, this was back in 2006, so I hate when people criticize newer rappers for this because people have been saying this about rappers for years. But anyways, I don't really want to go off on that rant, but I just feel like people be like forgetting sometimes, honestly. But I bring up Hip Hop Is Dead and Nas with the beginning of Dr. Carter, where in the song, Lil Wayne is playing the role of a doctor. In the intro, the nurse is telling Wayne that his first patient is suffering from a lack of concepts, originality, his flow is weak, and he has no style. In the interlude of the song, the nurse is referring to another patient whose confidence is down, vocab and metaphors need work, and he also lacks respect for the game. The first 2 patients die, but in the interlude before the 3rd verse, the nurse informs Lil Wayne that this 3rd patient looks much better than the others. His respect is back up, concepts sound good, his style is showing strong signs of improvement, and all he needs now is swagger. The patient ends up surviving, and Lil Wayne says, "Welcome back, hip hop, I saved your life." Swizz Beatz actually produced this track, and here's what he had to say about it. It was a concept that could have either been for Wayne or Jay. All you had to do was fill in the blanks. It had Good Morning Dr. Carter, the breathing, and the heartbeat. Jay heard it first and loved it, but I didn't expect him to take it once I seen where he was going with American Gangster. It just wasn't good timing. It definitely fit Wayne. He's representing the next generation, and he delivered on it. The crazy part is when Jay was talking about the concept, he was talking about rebirthing a new artist, and whoever the new artist was would have been the feature. That probably was going to be Wayne, and Wayne wanted to feature Jay on it, so they were thinking the same thing without knowing it. Talib Kweli, who many hip-hop purists hold in high regard, has said that Dr. Carter is one of the greatest rap songs that he's ever heard, on top of highly praising Wayne. Phone Home would be the next track, and it features Dre of Cool and Dre, and it was produced by Cool and Dre. The title of the song Phone Home is a reference to E.T., and in the song, Wayne refers to himself as a Martian and an alien. Dre of Cool and Dre remembers when Wayne did a freestyle to the Jay-Z song Show Me What You Got and said, "We are not the same, I'm a Martian." That line really stuck with him, and he wanted to do a record that reflected that Wayne is a rock star from outer space. The whole concept was that there was no real rappers left in the game, and the hood is calling him home. Cool and Dre knew that Wayne was keeping it because Wayne had it in the vault. He had certain records in the special vault that was quote-unquote unleakable, and the stuff that he only touched. The 8th song on the album is Tie My Hands, and tragically Hurricane Katrina would occur in 2005, and this was devastating to New Orleans and the surrounding areas. Even till this day, some may say that New Orleans hasn't fully recovered from Katrina. Personally, my family is from Louisiana, specifically from Ruston, but a lot of my people stay in New Orleans and Shreveport, so I've definitely heard how devastating Katrina was for my family, even though I was very young when it took place. Now, Wayne at this time wasn't living in New Orleans, but him personally being from New Orleans and having family and friends there would affect him. He's made songs about Katrina, with one of the most notable ones being Georgia Bush, while also having lyrics and songs talking about the tragedy as well. Tie My Hands is one of, if not the oldest record to appear on the album, with it reportedly being recorded around October of 2005, which was not that long after Hurricane Katrina. Robin Thicke, who features on the track, initially wanted it for his album, but when Wayne heard the song, he loved it and wanted to use it for something. Wayne also did the song in one take and was really attached to this song. Here's what Robin Thicke had to say about the song. I wrote the song after Katrina. Wayne is from New Orleans and he really connected with the idea of the lyrics. A couple years later, I did the pre-recording of the vocals when we were hanging out in the studio in LA, and then it wasn't until a year and a half later that I found out he was keeping it and putting it on his new album. He made it so powerful. Then we had the honor of performing that at the Grammys together. That was magical. Anytime you can perform on the stage like that in front of all your peers, it's special enough. But to have a song that has so much special meaning to him and I, that made it even more special. The 9th track on the album is Mrs. Officer, and this was the 5th single for the album, with it peaking at number 16 on the Billboard Hot 100. A fun fact is that Titty Boy, or today you might know him as 2 Chainz, was on the original version of the track, and Kid, who featured on the track, said that he was supposed to have his verse. This leads us to the next track on the album, which is Let the Beat Build, which is produced by Diesel and Kanye. Kanye and Diesel did this record together, and Kanye sent him a soul sample looped for about 3 minutes. Wayne listened to the sample and wanted to add some drums to it. The song is built around the beat eventually dropping, which leaves room for anticipation to build within the listener, especially since it takes nearly 2 minutes for the beat to drop. The next track is Shoot Me Down, and it was produced by D. Smith. Upon hearing the beat, Lil Wayne kicked out around 15 people in the studio except for the engineer and D. Smith. He smoked about 2 blunts and asked for a cup of hot tea and just went in on the beat. Wayne mentions him drinking hot tea on the intro and the chorus of the song. This leads us into the next song, which is Lollipop, and it features Static Major and was produced by Jim Johnson with co-production from Diesel. This track was originally meant for Danity Kane, but they passed on the record, so Jim Johnson sent the beat to Static Major. He came up with a melody and hook rather quickly. Lil Wayne has talked in interviews noting that Lollipop was all Static Major's idea, and he brought the song to him with his vocals already on there, the beat was already done, and Wayne just laid his vocals. The decision to make it the single was evident right after he finished recording it. Everybody in the studio knew that that record was the one. Jim Johnson would say, "We used autotune, but with autotune, you can't just sing through it. You gotta know notes." So Wayne's not just singing through something, and it makes his voice sound perfect. The way he used it, he did some neat stuff with it. He was singing all crazy with weird melodies that no one really does. Wayne initially thought that the original version was cool, but Diesel ended up redoing the drums and changed the bass line that Jim Johnson initially did. Diesel described the original drums to have been more sedated, but with him, the drums were now harder. He brought it back to Wayne, and he jumped on the speakers and was excited and started doing some dances that he does in the video, and they became his next single. Now, Jim Johnson felt kind of disrespected by the changes that were made. The record went on to be a smash hit, so he was thankful for everybody's contribution to the record in the end. Also, at one point in time, the song Action, originally titled Showtime, was supposed to be one of, if not the first singles for the Carter 3, but then Lollipop came about and it ultimately never ended up becoming the single. However, Action did appear on the deluxe version of the album. The next song is Lala, featuring Busta Rhymes and Briscoe. It was also produced by David Banner. He provided some insight behind the song, saying that rappers like his beats but are afraid to be creative. Wayne is not that type of artist, and that's why David Banner enjoyed working with him the most. David Banner actually originally did that beat for the Shrek 3 soundtrack. He got a call at the last moment by his movie agent at the time, and they were having a problem with one of the tracks on Shrek 3 and needed a track. It was going to be an instrumental or a song, but either way, it wasn't designed for a rapper. He would also say that he actually got 2 beats on the Carter 3, but you gotta find the second one, and that's what draws us to the 14th track. Now, on the original version of the album, the 14th track was titled Playing With Fire, which features Betty Wright and was produced by Street Runner. Why this track was removed was due to a lawsuit. From what I've researched, a musical publishing company that owns the rights to the Rolling Stones song Play With Fire sued Lil Lil Wayne, saying that he released an altered version of the song without permission. Abco Music Inc. also accused Lil Wayne of copyright infringement and unfair competition. The lawsuit would say that the Lil Wayne song Playing with Fire is a clear derivative of the Rolling Stones song, with the original lyrics and the music altered in a recognizable way. Abco also said that Lil Wayne's version uses explicit, sexist, and offensive language and could lead the public to believe the company and the Rolling Stones approved of and authorized the new version. Abco Music was alluding to Betty Wright's chorus on the track in comparison with Play With Fire by the Rolling Stones. How Betty Wright even got on the song is that Street Runner wanted a big old school voice. His attorney was doing some things for her and he mentioned her. She's from Miami, so he was able to get the MP3 of the hook. Also, rest in peace Betty Wright, by the way. Street Runner would tell Lil Wayne's engineer that they had to make her sound like a sample. Street Runner would add the guitars, more strings, and put Betty Wright on it. The original version of Playing With Fire by Lil Wayne included a sample of a Play With Fire cover by Ruth Copeland that they couldn't clear. This is when they would take a writer and they had him come up with the lyrics that could work. Betty Wright re-sang the lyrics and gave it a soulful, haunting feel that makes the record. Playing With Fire made the Carter 3 the day of mastering. It was that song plus two others that made it. It was Wayne's call, according to Street Runner. Street Runner would further say, after the first million sold, they repressed it, so it actually said the titles of the 3 songs on the back of the album. And just like that, it got removed. It was a gift and a curse. It didn't get removed until 2.3 million copies were sold. 2.3 million lucky CDs out there have it. If you go buy the album today, it's gone. Eventually, that stuff's going to be something very rare because it's not even allowed digitally on iTunes. They're trying to erase that from the history books. Whatever format that exists in, it might be good to keep it around. So this track would be replaced with Monster, which was produced by David Banner, and to be honest, I don't really like this track at all, really. I mean, I just don't. I definitely feel like the album could do without it, in my opinion. I don't really have anything to say about the track, and I would just much rather move on, just much rather. But the second to last track on the album would be You Ain't Got Nuthin, and that would feature Jewel, Santana, and Fabulous. This beat was produced by The Alchemist. Alchemist would make the beat for the song right after he made the beat Wet Wipes for Cameron. Alchemist initially was working on You Ain't Got Nuthin for his personal album, but he wanted Wayne to be on it. Fab set it off, and then Jewels got on the song. Alchemist then says that obviously Wayne messes with these artists, so he was cool to do the collab. Alchemist would say that Wayne ended up wanting the beat for his album, which ended up happening. The last track on the original album is Don't Get It, and this track is very similar to the track Last Call by Kanye West, which appeared on the College Dropout album. And this Wayne song is nearly 10 minutes long with an intro, the chorus being said 3 times, and 2 verses. Kanye's Last Call is nearly 13 minutes with 2 verses as well. In The Last Call, Kanye details his story coming up from being a producer and trying to be recognized as a rapper. And Don't Get It, Wayne is also talking about life as well, but instead of his come up story, it's about how he mentions 1 of, if not every 100 Americans are locked up. 1 in every 9 black Americans are locked up. He talks about the criminal justice system, poverty, this is Al Sharpton, and much more. This will conclude this section of the video where I broke down each track on the standard album, including Playing With Fire, which was removed from the original version. And these the story behind the classic videos. I only really cover the standard version of the album and not really get into like the deluxes and the bonuses and all that other crazy stuff. But what a journey that we went on in this video. Throughout the story, there were plenty ups and downs, but this album really splits a lot of people. Some people think that this album is a classic, but others look at it as a disappointment of what it could have been, especially at that time for Wayne. A lot of people refer to the Carter 2 as his best album, but me, my personal favorite is the Carter 4. But all in all, let me know what you guys thought of the album in the comment section below. I love you guys with all my heart. Peace.